Now, I want to switch my gears real quick to China. According to some open sources, China now is controlling the inner river that runs through Argentina in South America and is charging tariffs, taxes in the name of the PRC for goods being shipped in and out. We also see that they have influence basically in all of South America except one country. And General, you said that we're fighting back with information, but it seems like those countries are in more need of infrastructure and dollars, which is what China is investing. Are we winning or losing in South America with information technology and providing the good deeds that Oklahoma does, or not Oklahoma, but the United States does?
Well, certainly I know that we're talking to our partners about this issue every day. Whether we're winning or losing, hard for me to judge that. I am not tracking this river in Argentina where they're collecting taxes, but I do know where there is infrastructure, ports, airfields that they can build upon, that they will take advantage of that business enterprise.
So are you familiar with the influence that they have, the strong influence that's grown over the last 10 years in Central and South America?
Yes, I am.
Are you familiar with the only country that they are currently don't have a foothold in South America? I find it, and I'm not, General, I'm not, this isn't a I got you question, because I honestly feel like you and I have been developing a friendship over the last couple of years. But I do find it somewhat concerning because that information is not hard to find, and it's not thing that requires being read in on. It's concerning to me when they have such a strong influence in Central America, which is growing, but in South America, we're losing. I would say we're not too far off from losing control of the Panama Canal, too. And I believe you'd probably agree with that in some sense. If course doesn't correct pretty quick, they're going to control the main shipping lanes through there. Wouldn't you agree?
I would say that certainly requires U.S. attention for sure, yes.
And that would play right into the role of the Belt and Road Initiative, to which China is trying to get all the world dependent on.
Yes.
So is information enough, or should we be looking at this in a different strategy to correct course?
Ranging into the policy sector there, certainly the more that we can bring, the better for sure.
Well, we need that information. I think the American people need to know what threat is really knocking on our back door and why it is a threat. It's not just rhetoric. It's something that can extreme concern. I would say China is trying to fulfill what Stalin said, trying to destroy America from within. And that's slowly choking us out. With that, I yield back.
Thank you very much, Senator Mullen. Senator Budd, please.
Thank you, Chairman and General Director. Thank you both for being here and for your service as well. I'd like to focus on the Indo-PACOM AOR for just a little bit. Director Haynes, in this year's annual threat assessment, it states expanded military postures by both India and China along their disputed border elevates the risk of armed confrontation between two nuclear powers. What do you assess as the risk of India and China's border dispute erupting into a conflict?
It's not insignificant, and this is on the line of actual control between
Correct.
The Indian and the Chinese border. As you indicate, China has been building up its infrastructure along the border and continuing to increase their presence, and we've seen eruptions at different times, but we've obviously been working with India in order to try to ensure that we're supporting them in their efforts to manage this.
Thank you. General, the buildup that the Director just referred to along the line of actual control, what assistance, if any, is DIA providing to our Indian partners?
We have, through U.S. Indo-PACOM Joint Intelligence Team there, have reached out to our Indian partners. We have a relationship with them, and we're attempting to support their needs.
Thank you. Director, just last week, the Chinese accosted a Philippine Coast Guard ship, as many of us are aware of. It appears that these are becoming more and more frequent. So are these negligent or intentional encounters, and what's the IC's assessment of the purpose of China doing this?
Yeah, we actually have some very good products on this that if you're interested, we should get to you. But This is
If you would, please.
what we've seen with China is they have expanded significantly their Coast Guard over the last many years. They have also begun to use their Coast Guard in new ways. So in other words, they've passed laws that allow them to use their Coast Guard to police, in effect, what they perceive as being their rightful waters, and to use even force under certain circumstances. And so, no, I do see this as part of a larger comprehensive effort that they've engaged in. And it is, there's sort of three different pieces to it. There's the ships that they use that are part of militia that are not actually part of the Coast Guard or the PLA. And then there's the Coast Guard, and then there's the PLA. And the relationship that they have with each of these different forces is related and sometimes intersects.
Thank you. And a question for both of you, if you would, and Director, we'll start with you. What's your assessment of the Chinese military's ability to conduct a cross-strait amphibious assault of Taiwan? And, they've now effectively practiced a blockade, but are they ready for a major amphibious landing? And Director first.
Senator, we can
Well, Director first, and then if you're referring us to the closed session, if there's anything you can share in this setting, please do.
Yeah, I would honestly defer to General Barrier on their capacity, and probably would do it in a closed session.
Understood. Director, any comments on that?
I would just say a very, very complicated military operation. We've observed exercises where they review the points on an operation like this, and we can provide more detail in a closed session.
Thank you. And one final question for you, General. So DIA's China Military Power Report came out in 2019, so it's 4 years old now. If a new version was published today, what would the top line changes be? How has the military balance of power changed in Asia over the last 4 years?
I think we'd probably start describing the advances that they've made in every domain of their military capability in the short 4 years. They've really advanced some of those capabilities. We talk about space, we talk about their expanded nuclear capacity, and we'd probably also talk about their expanded reach throughout the Indo-Pacific and some of those things that we were talking about before with like the maritime fishing police and the Coast Guard and those actions.
Thank you both again for your time and for your service, Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Budd. Senator Schmidt, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Haynes, I want to ask you, CBP has reported that thousands of Chinese nationals have come across the southern border, an increase of about 800%, I think is the most recent estimate. I guess the question for you is, what are some of the factors causing this?
Thank you, Senator. I don't have a full answer to that. Why don't I get you that in writing in response?
Okay, I'm not trying to trip you up here, but my hope would be that the intelligence community has some idea why we're seeing this increase.
Yes, we have done some analysis on this. I've taken a look at it. They went back to look at more questions, and I'd rather give you a full answer.
Okay, that's fair.
On that.
And so I guess I'll ask you, and if it's the same answer, I understand. But do you expect, or are you anticipating an increase in the number of Chinese nationals seeking to cross the southern border?
Yeah, I'd rather give you the full. What I've seen is that it went up, and then it seems to have gone down a little bit, is my recollection, and so unclear what the trajectory is, and I think we should give you something.
Okay. My concern, obviously, with Title 42 expiring, has accounted for about 50% of all the expulsions, I think. It is very concerning if this is an intentional effort by the CCP to send assets across our southern border. I think the American people deserve to know what's happening, and I don't think we do. It is a very concerning development, and it's ongoing, and we've seen it increase. And my concern is, again, giving one of the tools that's been useful in sending people back is going away, and we need to be prepared for that. I guess switching gears, and this could be for either one of you, but I'll start with you, Director Haynes. During the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, billions of dollars worth of valuable equipment were lost or left behind, I should say, in addition, of course, to the brave servicemen who lost their lives. But just to put that in perspective, there was $48 million worth of ammunition, 80 aircraft, 23,000 Humvees, 250,000 automatic rifles, 95 drones, 42,000 pieces of sensitive military equipment, including night vision goggles. How have the Taliban utilized this? What do we know? Have they been selling this to adversaries? Where is all this equipment and how is it being used?
Largely, our understanding is that the Taliban have organized their security forces, that they have fallen in on this equipment. I haven't seen a lot of reporting that would indicate that they are selling it. I think they're trying to incorporate it into whatever security force they develop.
Do you have anything to add to that, Dr. Haynes? Okay. I do want to ask about an after-action report on the withdrawal from Afghanistan that obviously was a total mess. What are your plans to provide an unclassified after-action report here? I think there are only some senators who've even been able to see it, but I think that given the nature of this, and there's been some public reporting that about what is out there that seems to just sort of blame the previous administration. I mean, I think this was one of the more disturbing failures in at least modern history. I guess, what are your plans to have sort of an accounting of this, of what went wrong, and make sure this never happens again? Or do you have plans to do that?
Not for the intelligence community. We don't have any plans to provide an unclassified after-action report on Afghanistan. I can't speak obviously.
Okay.
For the
Well, I guess, and I'll just close with this. I don't. This is not a partisan statement. The idea that what happened in Afghanistan, the fact that the American people have not to this point gotten an actual thorough review of an after-action report of what went wrong and how we can make sure this never happens again is deeply concerning. And so this question isn't just for you, it's being asked of other people, and we'll continue to do that. But I just think for the memory of the men and women who were lost, all of the equipment that I mentioned, it was just a total debacle, and we've got to do better and make sure it never happens again. So I suppose we'll be working with you to figure out what information you can provide to more fully inform the American people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've been informed that Senator Sullivan is en route, and so I will take the opportunity to further ask a few questions and give him the opportunity to get here, but it won't be indefinite. One of the issues that we're facing is as I mentioned before, the proliferation of media, virtual media, and now what's approaching is the next great step, AI. Do you have any concerns that AI will disrupt our life dramatically, and that there are steps that we should start contemplating now? I know the administration has announced yesterday that they're taking steps with respect to AI. And in terms of the intelligence community, how are you viewing this, Director Haynes?
Yeah, thank you very much, Senator. I think you are wise to be focused on this, and that it will have disruptive impact. We've been writing some analysis to try to look at what the potential impact is on society in a variety of different realms, and obviously see some impact in intelligence activities that we'd be happy to talk to you in closed session on. But what we also recognize is that we do not yet have our hands around what the potential is, and what we've been doing in the intelligence community. There have been many elements have themselves put together task forces, experts who are looking at these issues, who are trying to understand in particular the impact of generative AI, as you've noted it. And we have been trying to facilitate groups of experts in the IC to essentially connect with those in the private sector who are on the cutting edge of some of these developments so that we can make sure that we understand what they see as potential uses and developments in this area as well.
Thank you very much. Just a quick question. Listening to the discussion about the withdrawal from Afghanistan, most of that equipment and those supplies were committed to the Afghan army, and that was a planned commitment. That was not deliberately leaving equipment behind. That was the tactical equipment for the Afghan army, which we all hoped would continue to function. Is that correct?
That was always the plan, that those Afghan corps that we stood up and trained would retain that equipment.
And that plan was developed under the Trump administration after the Doha agreements.
That is correct.
Okay. And then also in terms of, I think I agree, obviously, that this has to be public, but we should all be aware that the Congress and this committee authorized a commission to study the entire situation in Afghanistan over the 20-year period. That commission is at work today, and it will publish its results, and those results will be available to the public. There might be some classified material, but it will be available to the public. So thank you. Senator Sullivan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for holding this open. Appreciate the witnesses being here. Deanna Haynes, I want to just follow up a little bit first quickly on the AI piece. Did you happen to read the very long and insightful piece by Henry Kissinger and Eric Schmidt, the Google founder and a senior MIT professor on AI? Did you read that?
I know exactly what you're talking about. It is on my pile, but I have not yet read it, so I apologize.
Yeah, I would strongly recommend take a look. I think it's such a big topic. The Economist has a whole focus on it today. There's all these great opportunities. You know, Henry Kissinger still going at it. I think he turned 100 or is turning 100 here very soon. Incredible mind. He brings some insights that are very chilling to the uses of AI and what it could mean, particularly on the national security front. And I think it would be good for you guys to do a deep dive on this and come back to the committee. We're all trying to figure it out. You have tech companies saying it's the best thing since sliced bread. You have other people saying it's going to doom the world. And but I think putting the tech companies fully in charge, I don't think that's a good idea either. So we really need your guys' insight, and I think it would be good if you can come back to the committee, either classified or unclass, on that topic. Take a look at that piece. So it's really well written and pretty scary, to be honest. And these aren't people who are prone to be Pollyannish.
Yeah.
Let me turn to my.
do that.
Thank you. Let me turn to my favorite topic, energy. I always like to recount this story. It's now quite a sad story because I'm sure you know Vladimir Kara-Murza is in jail for 25 years, unjustly sentenced. I hope we can keep beating the drums to tell Putin to let him out. All he was doing was speaking the truth about democracy and freedom in Russia. Very courageous man. I was in a meeting with him a number of years ago, just me, him, and Senator John McCain, and I asked him what was the most important thing we could do to undermine the Putin regime, the kind of mafia grip that he has on his society and the danger he presents to the world. And Vladimir Kara-Murza looked at me and said, "It's easy, Senator, it's an easy answer. Produce more American energy. Produce more American energy." That is what Russia fears. So can you talk about two things? One is Russia's attempt to use energy as a weapon. They're pretty good at it. We've blunted it to some degree. And then two, on the flip side, I read the intel a lot about what the Chinese leadership thinks, what Xi Jinping thinks. They're very scared of American energy dominance, very scared. So could you talk about that as well? I think it's some of the products you guys have produced. And then maybe, I know you don't provide policy, but, you know, we do have this kind of element in American society, and to be honest, in the Biden administration and some of my colleagues in the Senate who are like, oh my God, we can't produce any more oil and gas. That's horrible, climate bomb. No offense, it's ridiculous, right? We're gonna need oil and gas for decades to come. Places like my state, Alaska, have the highest standards in the world on producing it. If we're gonna need it, we should produce it, not let Russia and Venezuela and hell, Saudi Arabia. So any thoughts on that too? And now I'm talking all energy. I love renewables, but we need oil and gas. The people close their eyes and scream climate bomb and we can't produce in Alaska. They have no idea what they're talking about. And you guys do. So please enlighten us because, and don't be political here. I know the Biden administration, you're an independent operator. John Kerry and everybody, they go around the world, oh my God, quit buying American LNG. These people are idiots and they're undermining our national security. The facts are there. China's fearful of American energy dominance. Putin wants to use energy as a weapon. And the best way to do it is Vladimir Kara-Murza's advice to me and John McCain, produce more American energy. That's how you undermine Putin and scare the Chinese. What are your thoughts on all of those very important topics that the media gets wrong, the far left puts its head in the sand on? We need factual analysis on this really important topic from you.
Thank you, sir. I know how passionate you are on these issues and knowledgeable. So I won't be political, that's for sure, but I also won't touch on policy.
Okay, you don't
It's
have
not
to.
my role.
That's not your role.
But I will say, absolutely, the intelligence community believes that Russia uses energy as a weapon. I know that doesn't come as a surprise to you. That's something they've continued to try to do during the course of the conflict. And in fact, as part of their calculation for invading Ukraine, one of the things that we know that they were focused on were the high energy prices for Europe and how that would affect, essentially, in their view, Europe's calculation on sanctions. They turned out to be wrong, which I'm quite glad about. But
Yeah.
in any event, that is certainly a part of the picture, I think. From the Chinese perspective, I would tell you that an area that we have spent a lot of focus on is on actually China's efforts to try to control global supply chains that relate to clean energy production and work. And that is a place where we see them very consciously looking to try to control the global supply chains related to the critical minerals that are relevant to clean energy work. And we have some really interesting analysis on that, and happy also to provide that to you if it's useful. And maybe leave it at that, and I don't know.
Yeah, in general, if you don't mind, and sorry, Mr. Chairman, just a follow-on question that's related. We did ask in the NDAA last year our military to look at options, in the event of a conflict with China, to choke off oil and gas supplies to them. Our Navy could do that. And if you have any thoughts on that, or maybe we should talk about it in a classified setting.
I do have thoughts, Senator. To start on Russia weaponizing energy, I think they've used it as a carrot and stick, right? And so they've really made it painful for our European partners early in the war, and then they offered it to other partners, nefarious partners for nefarious reasons, to acquire more military hardware. So your comment about weaponization, I think, is really accurate. I don't disagree with you that China fears us about our potential for energy production's increase. I think they fear a lot of our economic power all the time. To the point in the NDAA, I think those really are in the purview of the Indo-PACOM team and their planning efforts as that proceeds, and then we can talk more in the closed session.
Good.
Thank you.